I stared at the coffee mug on my nightstand, watching the dark liquid cool. My husband Richard had brought it up 10 minutes ago, like he did every morning, but this time, I didn't drink it. Because 3 days ago, my father told me something that changed everything. "Richie's putting something in your coffee, sweetheart. I see him." I'd laughed it off. Dad was 71 with Alzheimer's. He called me by my dead mother's name half the time. He thought it was 1987 some days. Of course he was confused. But then he said, "I filmed it. On my old camera. The one in my closet." That stopped me cold. Dad's memory was fractured, sure. But he'd been a documentary filmmaker for 40 years. Cameras were muscle memory to him. Even now. I'm 62 years old. I've been married to Richard for 4 years. My first husband, Tom, died of cancer 8 years ago after 35 years together. I thought I'd never love again. Then I met Richard at a grief support group in Phoenix. He was a widower, too. Lost his wife to a car accident, he said. He was kind, attentive, patient with Dad when he moved in with us 2 years ago. Richard made me feel young again. Made me feel seen. I didn't want to believe my father, but I also didn't want to ignore him. So that afternoon, while Richard was at his accounting office, I went to Dad's room. He was doing a puzzle at his desk, humming an old Beatles song. "Dad, you said you filmed something?" His watery blue eyes focused on me. "The camera, Beth. The Canon. In the closet." I found it behind a box of old film reels. A Canon XL2, probably 20 years old, but still working. The tape inside was dated 3 days ago. My hands shook as I pressed play. The footage was shaky, filmed through Dad's barely open bedroom door. It showed our upstairs hallway. Timestamp, 6:47 a.m. I watched Richard walk past with 2 coffee mugs. He stopped at the top of the stairs, set both mugs on the hallway table, looked around, then pulled a small capsule from his pocket, twisted it open, and poured white powder into one mug, stirred it with his finger, picked up both mugs, and continued to our bedroom. I watched it 3 times. Then I found Dad's notebook, the one his therapist suggested he use to track memories. The recent pages were filled with shaky handwriting. Tuesday. Richard put powder in Beth's coffee. 6:47 a.m. Wednesday. Richard put powder in Beth's coffee. 6:43 a.m. Thursday. Richard put powder in Beth's coffee. 6:52 a.m. Going back 2 months. 63 entries, all the same. That's when I realized I'd been exhausted for 2 months. Sleeping 12 hours a night, dizzy during the day. My doctor said it was just aging, maybe early menopause symptoms lingering. I'd believed her. "Dad," my voice cracked, "why didn't you tell me sooner?" He looked up from his puzzle, confused. "Tell you what, sweetie, the Alzheimer's had taken that memory already, but the camera didn't forget. The notebook didn't forget." I called my daughter Michelle. She's 38, lives in Seattle with her husband and 2 kids. She'd never trusted Richard, said he was too eager to have Dad move in with us, too interested in my finances. "Mom, don't drink anything he gives you," she said immediately. "I'm calling Uncle Steve right now." Uncle Steve isn't actually my uncle. He's Tom's brother, a retired detective with Phoenix PD, still has contacts. Within 2 hours, he was at my house with a field test kit. We tested the coffee from that morning. I'd poured it into a mason jar and hidden it in the garage. The test strip turned deep purple. "Temazepam," Steve said quietly. "It's a benzodiazepine, sleeping medication, high dose." Why would he do this? But even as I asked, I knew. I just didn't want to know. Steve pulled up a chair. "Beth, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Does Richard have access to your accounts, your will?" I nodded slowly. "We have a joint account, and I updated my will last year. Richard helped me with it, actually. His friend is an estate lawyer." "Who inherits?" "Richard gets the house and half my savings. Michelle gets the other half and my retirement accounts. Dad's care is covered by a trust Tom set up." Steve's jaw tightened. "How much are we talking?" "The house is worth about $800,000. Savings is $600,000. Retirement is another $1.2 million. So Richard stands to inherit over $1 million if you die." The room tilted. I gripped the table. "Steve, he wouldn't. He's not like that. He lost his wife. He understands grief. Did he? Steve pulled out his phone. Beth, give me his full name and date of birth. Richard James Morrison, April 15th, 1958. Steve typed for a few minutes. Then his face went pale. Beth, Richard's wife didn't die in a car accident. She died of acute respiratory failure. At home, they ruled it natural causes because she had a history of sleep apnea. But look at this. He showed me an obituary from 2019. Margaret Morrison, beloved wife, died peacefully in her sleep. But there was another article linked to it. A small piece from the local paper about how Margaret's family had questioned the death, requested an autopsy. The medical examiner found elevated levels of sedatives, but ruled it insufficient evidence for investigation given her prescription history. She'd been 59 years old, married to Richard for 6 years. He did this before, I whispered. Steve made more calls. By evening, we had a plan. Michelle flew in that night. We told Richard she was visiting for Dad's birthday next week. At dinner, Richard was charming as always. Asked about Michelle's kids, complimented my pot roast, refilled everyone's wine glasses. You seem tired, honey, he said to me, stroking my hand. You should rest after dinner. I think I will, I agreed. Playing along felt like swallowing glass. That night, Richard brought coffee to bed like always. I pretended to drink it, tilting the mug but keeping my lips closed. When he went to shower, I poured it into a water bottle Michelle had hidden in my nightstand. Evidence. I lay in bed, eyes closed, breathing slowly and deeply. Richard came back, checked on me. I felt his fingers on my wrist, checking my pulse. Then I heard him on the phone in his office next door. The walls in our house are thin. It's going faster now, he said quietly. I increased the dosage 2 months ago. Doctor says it's normal aging, nothing suspicious. Maybe another month or 2 and her heart will give out. Her father's Alzheimer's is perfect timing. When she goes, everyone will assume it was the stress of being a caregiver. A woman's voice responded, faint through the speaker. What about her daughter? Michelle doesn't visit often, and the old man's testimony won't hold up. Who's going to believe someone with Alzheimer's? And the money? I'm on the will. The house, the savings, everything. Margaret's payout got me started, but this is the real score. Over $1 million. I heard him laugh. Actually laugh. I didn't sleep that night. At dawn, Michelle came into my room. She'd heard everything too. She'd been recording through the wall with her phone pressed against it. Mom, we need to call the police now, she whispered. No. My voice was cold, calm. He needs to think it's working. He needs to confess to something concrete. Right now, it's just drugging me, and a decent lawyer could argue it's for my sleep problems. We need him to try something more. Mom, you're talking about letting him try to kill you, with Steve and you watching, with police ready, like bait. Michelle's eyes filled with tears. I can't lose you too, Mom. Not like Dad. You won't, baby, but we do this right, or he walks away. Maybe he finds another widow. Maybe he kills her too. We end this now. It took 3 days to set up. Steve called in every favor he had. We installed hidden cameras throughout the house. They got a warrant for electronic surveillance. An ambulance was positioned 2 blocks away. Detective Sarah Chen, Steve's former partner, led the operation. The trap was simple. I told Richard I was exhausted, worse than ever, that I'd made an appointment with a cardiologist for next week, that I was worried. Maybe we should go to the cabin this weekend, Richard suggested, right on cue. Fresh air, rest, no stress. We can leave your dad with Michelle. The cabin, Richard's mountain property in Prescott, 2 hours north, isolated. No neighbors. Perfect place for an accident. That sounds wonderful, I said. Dad was harder to fool. On Friday morning, as Michelle helped him pack for his visit with her, he grabbed my hand. Don't go with him, Beth. I have to, Dad. He's going to hurt you. I know it. I can feel it. For a moment, his eyes were completely clear. Not my father with Alzheimer's. Just my father. The man who taught me to ride a bike, who walked me down the aisle, who held me when Tom died. I'll be careful, I promised. I love you. Your mother would tell you to run. So I'm telling you, run, Beth. But I couldn't run. Not if I wanted this to end. The drive to Prescott was beautiful. October in Arizona, the aspens turning gold. Richard held my hand, told me stories about his childhood, asked about my memories with Tom, weaponizing my grief, making himself the comfort I needed. The cabin sat at 7,000 feet, surrounded by ponderosa pines. Rustic, charming, remote. Richard had bought it 3 years ago. Before we married, he'd been planning ahead. That first night, he made dinner. Grilled chicken, roasted vegetables, a nice Pinot Noir. The wine tasted bitter. "Are you feeling okay, honey?" he asked. "You look flushed. Just tired," I said. I'd only pretended to drink the wine. "Let's get you to bed early. Tomorrow we can take a walk, enjoy the forest." I lay in bed, listening. Around midnight, Richard made a phone call. "She's out cold." I put the whole bottle in the wine this time. "Tomorrow morning, I'll suggest a hike. There's a cliff edge about a mile up the trail. Loose rocks, steep drop. She'll be dizzy, uncoordinated. One push, and it's a tragic accident. Widow out for a morning hike. Lost her balance." "What about cameras?" The woman's voice again. "None up here. I've checked, and I'll have my story straight. I tried to grab her, I'll say." I screamed. I called 911 immediately. "Devastated husband. And you're sure this will work?" "It worked with Margaret. It'll work with Beth." I lay there in the dark, my heart hammering. This was it. This was the confession. Detective Chen and her team were in the woods a quarter-mile away, listening through the wire I wore under my shirt. Morning came too soon. I pretended to wake slowly, groggy and confused. "Good morning, sweetheart," Richard said, bringing coffee to the bedroom. "How about that hike? Weather's perfect." "I feel so dizzy," I mumbled. "Fresh air will help. Come on, I'll help you get dressed." He picked out my hiking boots, my jacket, held my arm as we walked outside, so attentive, so caring, so calculating. The trail was steep and rocky. I stumbled deliberately, let him catch me. We climbed higher, aspens giving way to pine forest. 3/4 of a mile in, I saw it. The cliff edge, a 200-foot drop into a boulder-strewn ravine. "Let's rest here," Richard said. "Look at that view." We stood at the edge. Wind in the pines. Blue sky. Beautiful day to die. Richard's hand found my back. Gentle. Almost a caress. "I'm sorry, Beth," he whispered, "but I need the money more than I need you." He shoved, but I'd been ready. I dropped and rolled left, away from the edge. Grabbed a tree root. His push missed. He stumbled forward, off balance. "Freeze! Police!" Detective Chen and 4 officers burst from the trees, weapons drawn. Richard spun, face going from shock to fury to calculation in 3 seconds. "She tried to jump," he shouted. "I was trying to save her. She's been depressed since her husband died." "We heard everything, Richard," I said, standing up, brushing off pine needles. "Last night's phone call. Just now. All of it." His face crumbled. "You were awake. You weren't drugged. Not for 5 days. I've been filming you, recording you, building a case. But the wine, I poured it into a water bottle. Evidence. Your father has Alzheimer's, yes, but his camera works fine, and his notebook, and his testimony about what he witnessed." Chen stepped forward with handcuffs. "Richard James Morrison, you're under arrest for attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, elder abuse, and fraud. We're also reopening the investigation into Margaret Morrison's death." They read him his rights. His face was white, eyes wild. "You can't prove anything. It's her word against mine. We have video of you drugging her coffee. 63 days of it. We have recordings of your phone calls planning her murder. We have financial records showing you did the same thing to your first wife. We have your confession from 30 seconds ago." Chen smiled coldly. "We can prove everything." As they led him away, Richard looked back at me. Not with regret, not with remorse, with cold, absolute hatred. "You weren't supposed to be smart enough to figure it out," he said. "No," I replied. "You weren't supposed to get caught." The trial took 11 months. Richard's lawyer tried everything, claimed I'd set him up, claimed Dad's Alzheimer's made him an unreliable witness, claimed the recordings were inadmissible, but Dad testified anyway. On his good days, he was sharp, clear, credible. He told the jury about filming the coffee doctoring, about writing in his notebook, about warning me. "My daughter is the smartest person I know," he said from the witness stand. "Even when I can't remember my own name, I remember that, and I knew something was wrong." The jury deliberated 6 hours, guilty on all counts. Attempted murder, 25 years. Elder abuse, 5 years. Fraud, 3 years. Concurrent sentencing meant 25 years total. Richard was 66. He'd be 91 if he served the full term. They also exhumed Margaret Morrison, found the same pattern of sedatives, charged him posthumously with her murder, another 25 years added. He'll die in prison. Michelle and I moved Dad to an assisted living facility that specializes in Alzheimer's care. He's 76 now, and most days he doesn't remember Richard at all. On his clear days, he asks if that man is still in jail. I tell him yes. He smiles and goes back to his puzzles. I'm 67 now. I live in a small house in Sedona, red rocks out my window. I take watercolor classes, volunteer at the library, have Sunday dinners with Michelle's family when they visit. My grandkids are 14 and 11 now, beautiful, smart, kind. Sometimes they ask about Grandpa Richard. I tell them the truth, that he was a bad man who tried to hurt Grandma, that great-grandpa saved my life by paying attention when everyone else said he was just confused, that we should always listen when someone says they're seeing something wrong, even if they're old, even if they have memory problems. My grandson asked me last Christmas if I was scared during the cabin trip. Terrified, I told him. But more than that, I was angry. Your great-grandpa saw the truth, and people didn't believe him because of his Alzheimer's. People dismiss the elderly all the time. They assume if you're old or sick, you're not reliable. Richard counted on that. He was wrong. I think about Margaret Morrison sometimes. Wonder if she had warning signs too. Wonder if she ignored them, like I almost did. Wonder if she'd be alive today, if someone had just believed her when she said something felt wrong. Richard's daughter from his first marriage reached out to me 2 years ago. She's 52 now, wanted to apologize for her father. I told her she had nothing to apologize for. We got coffee. She told me her mother had been tired all the time before she died, had complained about Richard's new helpfulness with her medication, had told her daughter something felt off. I told her she was being paranoid, his daughter said, crying. I told her Dad was just trying to help. If I'd listened. You didn't know, I said. None of us want to believe the people we love could hurt us. But that's the lesson, isn't it? The uncomfortable truth we all need to hear. The people closest to us can hurt us the worst because they know our weaknesses. They know our trust. They know exactly where to strike. And the people we dismiss, the elderly, the sick, the children, they're often the ones who see the truth first because they're watching. They're paying attention in ways we're too busy, too trusting, too blind to notice. Dad died last year. Peacefully, in his sleep, in his assisted living room with Michelle and me holding his hands. His last clear words to me were, "I'm glad you listened, Bethy. I'm glad you believed me. Always, Dad. Always." I keep his old Canon camera on my mantle. The tape inside is labeled Evidence October 2020. I've never erased it, never will. It's a reminder that truth matters, no matter who speaks it. If you're reading this and you're in a relationship that feels wrong, trust that feeling. If someone you love is being helpful in ways that make you sick or tired or weak, question it. If an elderly parent or a child or a friend tells you something that sounds paranoid or impossible, listen anyway, because Richard seemed perfect. He was kind, attentive, patient, charming. He went to church, donated to charity, had friends and colleagues who loved him. Everyone thought we were the perfect couple. Second chance romance. 2 people finding love after loss. And he tried to kill me for $1.3 million. I'm one of the lucky ones. I had my father's eyes watching. I had family who believed me. I had resources to fight back. Not everyone does. But if you're in danger right now, if something feels wrong, start documenting. Tell someone you trust. Get evidence. Get help. Get out. You're not paranoid. You're not imagining things. You're not too old, too young, too confused, too anything to trust your own instincts. Your life is worth fighting for. Your truth is worth telling. And the people who truly love you will believe you, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's terrifying, even when they don't want to. Dad taught me that. Even with Alzheimer's stealing his memories, he held on to the most important truth, that his daughter needed protection, that something was wrong, that someone needed to pay attention. I'm alive because he did. And if you're the person being dismissed right now, the elderly person, the sick person, the confused person, keep speaking up. Keep recording. Keep documenting. Keep fighting to be heard. Because somewhere, someone will listen. Someone will believe you. Someone will act. My father was 71 with Alzheimer's when he solved a murder plot with an old video camera and shaky handwriting. Never underestimate the power of people who refuse to stop paying attention, no matter what anyone says. They might just save your life.